75,000 people, roaring, screaming, calling for blood. You can hear the crowd even now, if you close your eyes and stand on that sand. But this was never just an arena. It was a political weapon, a message carved in stone, a declaration that said, Rome is eternal, and its emperor is its god. Today, we are going back to when it was built on the drained lake of a tyrant, back to the opening that lasted 100 days, back to every spectacle, every execution, every roar. This is the full story of the Colosseum. Before the Colosseum, there was a lake. Not a natural one, a private one, dug by order of Emperor Nero after the Great Fire of Rome in 64 AD gutted the city. While Rome burned, Nero seized over 300 acres of prime city land. He built his palace, the Domus Aurea, the Golden House, across it all. A rotating dining room, ceilings that showered guests with flowers and perfume. And at its heart, an artificial lake, ringed by porticos, gardens, and statues. Romans despised it, not because it was beautiful, it was, but because it was his. In a city of 1 million people, an emperor had fenced off the heart of Rome for himself. Then Nero died, and everything was about to change. In 69 AD, after a year of civil war so brutal historians call it the Year of the Four Emperors, a general named Titus Flavius Vespasianus seized the throne. Vespasian was not born to power. He was a soldier's son from the Italian countryside. He commanded troops, he got his hands dirty, and he understood, with the instincts of a general, exactly what Rome needed. Rome needed to forget Nero, and it needed to love its new emperor. His solution was elegant. He would drain Nero's private lake, tear down the symbol of imperial greed, and in its place, he would build something for the people. Not a palace, an amphitheater, the largest ever conceived. It was one of the most calculated political moves in the history of the ancient world. A single building designed to say, I am not like the one who came before me. And to fund it, he had just sacked Jerusalem. The destruction of the Second Temple in 70 AD, led by Vespasian's son Titus, produced unimaginable wealth. Gold from the temple treasury, silver from ransacked homes, and tens of thousands of Jewish slaves who would spend years hauling stone. The Colosseum was not just built on a lake, it was built on the ruins of a people. Construction began around 70 to 72 AD. What followed was 10 years of engineering that, even by modern standards, demands respect. The site, the dried bed of Nero's lake, was first prepared with a foundation of concrete poured over 40 meters of clay. Engineers understood the waterlogged ground. They built drainage channels beneath it that still function today. The structure itself required approximately 100,000 cubic meters of travertine limestone, quarried from Tivoli, 20 miles away. A dedicated road was built just to transport it. 300 tons of iron clamps held the outer blocks together. No mortar. Just precision, weight, and Roman iron. The finished building was a marvel of proportion. 188 meters long, 156 meters wide, nearly 50 meters tall, almost as tall as a modern 15-story building. But what made it revolutionary wasn't size. It was the system of 80 entrances, numbered arches called vomitoria, designed so that 75,000 spectators could find their seats and leave in minutes. An organizational feat most modern stadiums still can't match. Inside, the seating was a mirror of Roman society itself. Senators at the front, knights behind them. Roman citizens higher up, segregated by wealth and status. Women and the poor at the very top. You knew exactly who you were the moment you sat down. There was also the hypogeum, the underground labyrinth. A network of tunnels, cages, elevators, and machinery beneath the arena floor. Animals were held in darkness there, ready to be cranked up through trapdoors directly into the sunlight. Gladiators waited in its corridors, listening to the roar above them. Vespasian would not live to see it finished. He died in 79 AD. His son, Titus, would open it. 80 AD, Emperor Titus declared the Colosseum open, and he didn't do it quietly. The inaugural games, the Munera, lasted 100 days. 100 days. By the time it was over, historians record that approximately 9,000 animals had been killed. Lions, bears, leopards, elephants, rhinoceroses, ostriches, creatures from the edges of the known world shipped to Rome to die in front of a screaming crowd. On some days, the arena was flooded for staged naval battles, naumachii, with real ships, real soldiers, and real death playing out on an artificial sea. Gladiators fought. Prisoners were executed in elaborate theatrical productions, sometimes dressed as mythological figures, and killed in ways that reenacted their legend. Criminals were fed to animals while the crowd cheered. Titus threw gifts into the crowd, wooden balls containing tokens that could be exchanged for food, gold, clothing, even homes. Spectators scrambled and fought over them. It wasn't just entertainment, it was a statement of power so overwhelming, so total, that you would leave the Colosseum that day believing Rome could never fall. Titus died the following year. His brother Domitian completed the arena, adding the underground hypogeum and a fourth upper tier. The Colosseum we see today is largely Domitian's Colosseum. Let's be clear about something. Gladiators were not simply slaves thrown to die. Some were slaves, some were criminals, but many were volunteers, freemen who chose the arena because it offered something otherwise unavailable: fame, money, and the electric thrill of the crowd. They trained at schools called ludi, the most famous being the Ludus Magnus, located directly beside the Colosseum, connected by underground tunnel. Training was rigorous. Meals were calculated. Gladiators were valuable property. There were different fighting types, each with distinct weapons and armor. The murmillo, heavy armor, a large shield, a short sword, built like a wall. The retiarius, nearly unarmored, carrying a trident and a weighted net, agility over defense. The thrakes, a small curved sword called a sika, a small shield, and a crested helmet. Fast, aggressive. Matches were designed to pit different types against each other: strength versus speed, vision versus reach. The crowd understood the matchups the way modern fans understand a sport. Death was not guaranteed. The missio, the call for mercy, could be given by the crowd or the emperor. If the fallen fighter had performed with courage, a raised thumb and waving cloth could save his life. A gladiator who won repeatedly could eventually be granted the rudis, a wooden sword symbolizing freedom. He had earned his life back. The greatest gladiators became celebrities. Their faces appeared on mosaics and oil lamps. Women wrote their names on walls. They were the athletes, the rock stars, the heroes of a civilization that found beauty in violence. Gladiator combat was only one piece of the program. Mornings in the Colosseum belonged to the venatio, the beast hunts. The arena floor would be transformed. Trees were planted, rocky hillsides constructed from wood and canvas. And into this artificial wilderness came the animals: leopards, wild boars, bears, bulls, ostriches, crocodiles. Hunters called venatores and bestiari entered armed with spears and long knives. Some fought from horseback, some on foot. The best of them became just as famous as gladiators. Midday was for executions. The method was part of the spectacle. Convicted criminals and enemies of Rome were sometimes killed by animals, damnatio ad bestias. Others were forced to fight each other, unarmed and exhausted, until only one remained. Then that one was killed by a guard. It was designed to humiliate, to erase, to remind everyone watching what it meant to defy Rome. Afternoons returned to gladiatorial combat, the main event. And on special occasions, the arena was flooded entirely. The naumachii, naval reenactments, featured warships crewed by condemned prisoners, fighting to the death in reenactments of historical sea battles. The engineering required to flood and drain the arena was extraordinary. For nearly 400 years, this program repeated. Emperors came and went. The games continued. The last gladiatorial combat in the Colosseum is believed to have occurred around 404 AD, when a monk named Telemachus leapt into the arena to stop a fight, and was stoned to death by the crowd. His death, legend says, moved Emperor Honorius to abolish the games. The animal hunts continued for another century. Then the empire fell, and the Colosseum fell with it, slowly. Earthquakes cracked its walls. Medieval families used it as a fortress. The Catholic Church harvested its marble and iron for St. Peter's Basilica. 2/3 of the original stone was taken. What you see today is a skeleton, a ruin. And yet, it stands. 50,000 people walk through it every day, more than 6 million a year. They stand on the same ground where 9,000 animals died in a single week, where slaves from Judea built a monument to their own conquest, where emperors bought love with blood. The Colosseum is not just a building. It is a record of what human beings are capable of, the engineering brilliance, the political genius, and the bottomless appetite for violence, all fused together in one perfect, broken, beautiful thing. Vespasian wanted to be remembered as better than Nero. He built something that outlasted them both. If you made it this far, you now know the Colosseum better than most people who have stood inside it. If this kind of deep dive history is what you're here for, subscribe. We go this deep every single time. Next, the gladiators who survived. The men who walked out of that arena, free,